Today, kids are being taught that the color of their skin defines them again. And if they look a certain way, they're an oppressor. From colleges to corporations to our culture, people are making money and gaining power by pretending we haven't made any progress at all, by doubling down on the divisions we've worked so hard to heal. You know this stuff is wrong. Hear me clearly. America is not a racist country. It's backwards to fight discrimination with different types of discrimination. And it's wrong to try to use our painful past to dishonestly shut down debates in the present.
You're one black man who went to a good, essentially white high school in the city of New York.
That's
you
correct.
Obviously had had a good education.
That's-
A good many of the people who work with you here in SNCC can say the same thing.
And we're saying that,
And you're a black man who came from a New York ghetto.
and we're saying that there's a system that allows for one or two black people to get out, and that's the rationale for keeping other black people down.
And it has nothing to do with the unwillingness or inability of the Negro to help himself and to work hard.
That's the rationale, that the reason why black people aren't this is because they're lazy, unambitious, stupid, have rhythm, and they eat watermelon.
All right, Shalom. This is the brother Nahalia from the GMS Orlando camp. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rokakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasha Allah, and a sincere salutation to all you Akim, who are preaching his word and believing his word in all truth and in sincerity. There's Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 7, and it reads, "Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart." All right, and through the Spirit, I want to go into a lesson based on the first video you saw and the second video to a certain degree. All right, the first video is the politician Tim Scott. I'm not privy to his exact office in government, but his this soundbite from his speech is making its rounds on social media and through the news outlets. And this is an example of Ecclesiastes 7 and 7. All right, where you have Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans who have received gifts on this side, and they in turn have perverted judgment. And that's why the scriptures say oppression will make a wise man mad. But what? A gift will destroy the heart. All right. Now, politicians have a very stable place in society, as well as not only job security, but I'll say this as well. They have to cater to the majority. All right. A guy like this is a guy who has to say what everybody else will agree to so that he can be voted into office and remain in office. And his narrative is similar to many other Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans who have found themselves in a comfortable position in Babylon the Great. All right. And that's why I wanted to add the Stokely Carmichael clip as well. All right. Because what he said is very true. This system makes provision for a few Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans to make it out. And they're propped up as the example. And it makes other Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, they feed the narrative that you are where you are because you're lazy and you don't want anything more for yourself. Now, there are a group or a percentage of our people who have given up hope. They don't want more. All right. But then there are systematic things that have happened in this place concerning the past that has put us in this position. All right. Redlining, discrimination that has resulted in generational wealth. And these are things that a guy like Tim Scott won't talk about because he has a good position in this life. And he believes that his position in this life is open to any Negro, Latino, and Native American, and every Latino and Negro and Native American if they just put their minds to it. But what happens is you have to be completely exceptional compared to the dominant society, which is the so-called white man. All right. Let's go to this as well. All right. This is Deuteronomy 16 and 19. Thou shalt not wrest judgment. Thou shalt not respect persons. neither take a gift, for a gift doth blind the eyes of the wise and pervert the words of the righteous. And that's why we are put on the outside of this society, because we hold truth and the integrity of Yahweh Shem Yahushai to the highest standard of life itself, where most of our people hold resources and influence in the society as their highest priority, which is why our people work so hard and trim their ways to seek love. And this guy is an example of that. Whereas integrity and truth is not valued by our people because it's not valued by this society. All right. As a matter of fact, let's go to Isaiah 5, and I'm going to jump down to verse 20. And it reads, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. All right. One of his statements is that now the so-called white man is being discriminated against as the oppressor. But if we just take a step back and look at actions, past and present, as a nation of people, you have guys like Tim Scott who would wrest judgment, going back into the law. Because what? They've received a gift. And it makes their tongue cleave to the roof of their mouth when it concerns the truth of the matter. Most wealth, I believe 80% of wealth, I forget where I found it at, but the majority of wealth, I'll say it like that, is generational. You rarely meet people who are in true wealth who have not inherited that wealth. Most wealth is generated through generations. And you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans for generations, for centuries, were locked out of those opportunities. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't have the ability to make a certain living for yourself on this side. But what it does mean is that on average, the likelihood of Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans developing generational wealth in the same equivalent as the so-called white man is, I'm not even going to say impossible. It's less than likely. And we know through the Spirit it's not going to happen. All right. We understand that the Lord set this system up for us to return to him ultimately, for us to be vexed with the society that we live in and return to him. And only a remnant is going to do that. All right. This is Isaiah 10, and I'm going to jump down to 21. And it reads, the remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob, unto the mighty Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And why are they going to return? Because we understand, according to the Spirit of the Lord who's given us discernment, that there is no solution man-made that is going to get us out of this situation. And that's a hard pill for a lot of our people to swallow. And you got guys like Tim Scott who have received gifts, and they truly or maliciously tell our people that if you just work hard, you'll have the same opportunities that the so-called white man has. That at this point, the so-called white man is being discriminated against because you bring up the reality of his past and present. You had Oprah earlier today who compared so-called black men to pit bulls and said that the same way she doesn't like pit bulls is the same way the so-called white man doesn't like black men. And these are people of our nation, according to the flesh, who have received gifts in this life. And what they do is they compensate for the ones who give them the gifts. Because what Tim Scott is saying without saying is that the reason that you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are destroyed is because you're lazy and you don't want to work. That's what he's basically saying in a nutshell. You haven't been held back. What happened in the past does not affect you now. The reason you're in the situation that you're in right now is because you're lazy. And that's why Stokely Carmichael very articulately replied to that reporter. And that's why I put that clip on this as well, because that's the narrative. And at one point you had so-called leaders of our people. They didn't have the complete truth. They didn't have the truth, but they fought for the well-being of our people the best way they knew how. And they were able to respond to certain narratives that now our people are willingly submitting to. All right. And these are the examples that the so-called white man props up to say, see, you know, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are just lazy. That's, you know, you're just violent and lazy. And that's the narrative that they push on you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, particularly you men. Because a nation's well-being is really grounded in the well-being of the man, both mentally and physically and economically. And the Lord did this to us so that we, matter of fact, let's go to the curses. All right, because this is very important. What the Lord did was he put us under this umbrella of the curses. So even if you have some exceptions who try to escape the curses by making a deal with the warden of the prison, it doesn't take away from the fact that we're covered as a nation. You judge a nation by the average lifestyle of the average member of that nation, not by the exceptions. Tim Scott is an exception. And he would like you to believe that there's a possibility for us to have an average lifestyle like Tim Scott, that he has pulled himself up by his bootstraps, and he can and we can do this as a nation of people, all of us. Despite the median household wealth gap, despite statistics, despite you being more likely to be arrested, even though you use drugs as a nation just as much as the so-called white man does. But guys like Tim Scott and Candace Owens, for that matter, they put by all of these facts and they pick out the facts that are convenient for them. Why? Because ultimately their gift has destroyed the minds of these individuals. And now they're a defender of their oppressor, just like you had the house niggas. Excuse my French. This is just a more sophisticated system of slavery. And a lot of our people have a problem when we say these things, but they're true. All right. Now, Deuteronomy 28. And I like to start when I go to the curses at verse 47, because there's a contrast, right? Deuteronomy 28 and 47 reads, because thou servest not the Lord thy power with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. And that's why the scriptures talk about the curses being on us for a sign and for a wonder. Because it doesn't matter what Tim Scott says. You Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans don't own your own electricity grid. We don't have our own water reservoirs. We don't, on a large scale, we don't grow enough food to provide food for ourselves as a nation of people. We have to go to our enemy for the want of all things. And you have guys like Tim Scott, who the gift destroys his heart, to where he believes that the so-called white man isn't that bad because he's been able to receive gifts from him. So they turn a blind eye to the truth. And he's not alone. You have NBA players that do it, NFL players that do it. Your entertainers, your actors. Once they receive a gift from the so-called white man, they turn a blind eye to the situation that Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are in. And when you do talk to them about systematic things that happen in the society, a lot of them just put it, they shoot past those questions and they tell Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans just work hard. And what we're telling you through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua first and foremost is that this is bigger than just working hard. Nobody's worked hard as our people have in the past to be in a better situation, and that got them nothing, man. So now our people settle for these high-paid, subjective states that they call careers, like politicians, like podcasters, like Candace Owens, who justifies what has happened to you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans by saying it's happened to other nations, even though it's still happening to you. Who bring out these statistics that basically say you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are lazy and dangerous. And that's why you've lost. Forget the years. Forget the fact that you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans have only been free for 55 years. If you count Jim Crow as a part of that subjection, they'll put by all of that past to say that now you just have to pick yourself up by your bootstraps. That for the most part, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are lazy and dangerous and dumb. And that's why they don't have opportunities. And Tim Scott is a perfect example of that narrative being pushed in 2021. And that's why the beautiful thing about the Stokely Carmichael interview and what Tim Scott just said is that it shows you how long the so-called white man has really tried to push this narrative. And what it does is it dismisses what has happened to you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans at the hands of the so-called white man. We didn't just come up with the phrase that he's the oppressor. We didn't just come up with the phrase the so-called white man's the devil. Don't believe our words. Look at our action. Look at his actions and ask yourself, which description does he fit better? An angel or the devil when it concerns you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans? Is he anything outside of an oppressor concerning his interaction as a nation of people against you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans? But guys like Tim Scott will allow you or try to allow you to put that understanding behind you and say something like, we just got to work harder and then we won't be under oppression anymore. We'll be able to. And it's not realistic. Matter of fact, I want to go to this as well. All right, this is Isaiah chapter 51. And I'm going to jump down to verse 22. Thus saith Yahweh Shema Shai, and thy power that pleadeth the cause of his people. Behold, I have taken out of thine hand the cup of trembling, even the dregs of the cup of my fury. Thou shalt no more drink it again. But I will put it into the hand of them that afflict thee, which have said to thy soul, bow down, that we may go over. And thou hast laid thy body as the ground, and as the street to them that went over. All right. And that's what guys like Tim Scott want you to believe, man. They want you to be okay with just being in subjection to another nation of people. Just work hard to be a servant in their society. And this shows you that a gift destroyeth the heart, man. And that's why a lot of these so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans who are celebrities or are in a position of power and influence don't speak on these things. Nick Cannon is a perfect example of what happens when you test the waters. A gift destroyeth the heart, man, and they're no longer in a position to tell you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans truth. And that is a luxury through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai that we have who know this truth, who understand this truth, who apply it, both the laborers and the believers. That is a luxury and a privilege that you have that is unlike the majority of your own people. That you can speak truth without repercussion, because the repercussions are so small. You have so little to lose in this society that you have the luxury and privilege to speak truth unfiltered. A guy like Tim Scott can't get on camera and say the so-called white man is the devil. And he won't, because he's convinced himself that the gift that he's received is open to all Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And this is one of those many examples. All right. And through the spirit, I just wanted to touch on it. I didn't want to be too long winded because this video is pretty much self-explanatory. But through the spirit, I wanted to speak on it. All right. So Lord willing, this was edifying. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasha Allah, and a sincere salutation to all you Akim, who are preaching this word and believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.